I just received this article from a source regarding Israel's natural gas ambitions and how it could possibly lead to what will take place in Ezekiel 38 and 39. And I think there's a strong possibility that something big is about ready to explode in probably the next several years regarding Israel and Russia. And the article says Turkey endorsed Russia's South Stream gas pipeline on Wednesday, saying that they may allow the conduit to pass through their country on its way to Central and Western Europe. But politics play a bigger role than monetary profit in this deal and could lead to an economic clash with Israel. According to International Energy Agency reports, natural gas accounted for just 5% of Turkey's total primary energy supply in 1990. This figure has saw a huge increase to 32% in 2011. I'm sure it's bigger than that even now at 2014. This 28% jump means that a third of Turkey's energy demands were for natural gas in 2011, making it one of the largest gas markets in Europe. Russia's energy giant Gazprom has long been a key provider of natural gas to Europe, accounting for 38.7% of Europe's gas imports in 2007. And you can bet that number has skyrocketed 7 years later. With Turkey's new hunger for natural gas, government officials have been discussing how to increase and diversify their sources of natural gas. Turkish Energy Minister Taner Yildiz recently said, "We are open to assessing any request for the line to pass through Turkey's territory." In reality, Turkey is willing to consider almost any idea that will increase the supply of gas to the country, even if it means soothing ties with recent regional rivals such as Israel. One source of gas that Turkey is counting on in the near future in the Leviathan gas reserve discovered off the coast of Israel. Now, though political relations between the two countries are currently at a low point, this gas bonanza could go a long way to healing damaged ties. Well, of course, the Bible indicates that that's probably not going to be the case. They may at first see this as something that can bring Turkey and Israel together, but in the long run, Israel will be, or I should say, Russia will be joined by Turkey to attack Israel in taking a spoil. And if you don't know this already, you remember from one of my other articles or videos that I did, Turkey is in a conflict with Cyprus because half of Turkey basically, or I'm sorry, half of Cyprus is occupied and ruled over by Turkey. And both Cyprus and Israel are right now exploring this very large natural gas and oil find known as the Leviathan just off the coast of Israel, and it also stretches over into Cyprus, the Cyprus area. So because half of Cyprus is occupied by Turkey, Turkey is trying to strong-arm themselves into getting a piece of that pie. But getting back to what the Bible does say, it does indicate that one day, that in Ezekiel 38, it indicates that Israel would one day be attacked by Russia, and that the reason behind this would be to take a spoil. And this article gives me good reason to believe that there will be a clash between Israel and Russia, because I believe that one day that Europe, Russia's biggest market for natural gas and oil, will be taken from Russia, and it'll almost come down to a collapse. But getting back to Turkey, Turkey right now has had an increased thirst for natural gas and oil in their country, and this is what's going on right now. It says diplomats are currently discussing a 25-year supply deal, which would normalize Turkey-Israeli relations and promote greater economic cooperation. In such a case, Turkish sanctions against Israel would be lifted and ambassadors reinstated, the official said. The plan is to build a subsea pipeline for the estimated price of $2.2 billion. This is a deal that would give the Turks the gas they demand, give Israel a normalized relationship with an important country in the region, and, of course, make everyone lots of money. And here's the next portion of the article. It's entitled, "Is Israel Set to be the New Russia?" Still, there are even more benefits for for Israel in this deal. The bolsterous European gas market is looking for reliable sources of energy outside of Russia since tensions over Ukraine and the Russian annexation of Crimea peaked in recent weeks. The pipeline to Turkey would likely be the first step to providing gas and to Western European nations experiencing a political rift with the regime in Moscow. However, Turkey's recent comments in favor of a possible deal with Russia could create competition with a country that Israel has always been careful not to antagonize. Though Russia has been a leading supplier of natural gas to Europe, it's an even more critical export for the economy of Russia itself. The energy sector, including oil, accounts for 58% of Russia's total exports. Whether or not Russian President Putin would openly admit it, Russia would be hard-pressed to maintain its current economic status without selling natural gas to Europe. And it is estimated that Russia's government budget is dependent, some 50 to 80% of their budget is dependent upon the sale of gas and oil. If they were to lose Europe, they would virtually go bankrupt. But here's another interesting twist in this article, and it says that, in fact, the proposed South Stream pipeline that Israel and Turkey are laying the groundwork for was conceived for more than just the benefit of getting a piece of booming Turkish business along its route. The idea for the pipeline was born as an attempt to circumvent Ukraine, which Putin blamed for stealing portions of gas that flowed through the country on its way to Europe. Now, as relations with Ukraine sour further, Putin will certainly be even more anxious to find a way around his neighbor. And I want to make a correction here. I said that the South Stream project was between Turkey and Israel. It's actually between Russia and Turkey. But going on with the article, it says, watching Israeli gas flow into the European continent would be far from Russia's political interest, and is a project which Putin could very well attempt to sabotage. As can be seen in his dealings with Crimea and Ukraine, it is safe to assume Putin will have no problem finding a political precedent to prevent Israel's pipeline through Turkey. And here's something you may want to take into consideration also, that this battle between Ukraine and Russia has caused a huge problem and could cause Turkey to reject the South Stream project of running oil and natural gas through Turkey in favor of an Israeli pipeline. And the reason why that Turkey would do this, because they don't want to have any type of rift with the European Union, because they'd like to get into the European Union at some point in the near future themselves. And going on with the article, it says, if Turkey found itself in a situation where it would be forced to choose between the Israeli and the Russian pipelines, both sides would have benefits and disadvantages. And here's one of the disadvantages. If tensions between Russia and Europe remain at their current level, such a choice would have negative effects on Turkey's long-standing request to join the European Union. So they don't want any part of that, just for that point alone. You might wonder, what in the world is Russia doing in Crimea and also threatening Ukraine? Well, it wouldn't shock me a bit if the Lord manufactured this particular situation in order for this pipeline to be created, or at least to be projected, and in the near term that because of this, Russia came and it basically brought Russia down upon Israel. So this Ukraine-Russia battle that's going on right now very well may be setting the stage for why Russia will come down upon Israel, because Turkey very well may decide that they do not want a Russian pipeline going through their country because of the rift between Russia and the European Union. And this may come down in favor of an Israeli pipeline. That would be a nightmare for Russia, and would be economically could be an economic disaster as well. In closing out the article, it says Israeli and Turkish negotiators are hoping to begin construction on the Israeli pipeline in the second half of 2015, while Turkish officials plan to sit down with Russian representatives next week to discuss ways to increase gas supplies. Now that's the conclusion of the Ynet article out of Israel. Now here's what Stratfor has to say regarding the same situation. And many of you may not know this, but Moscow for years has been politicizing its natural gas and oil supplies, meaning that it has been giving favorable treatment to those who are in line with Russia, such as the European Union, and has been cutting off or charging higher than normal prices to those who have fell out of favor with Russia. This is what basically has been happening. It says Moscow's politicization of its energy supplies has led many European customers in the past decade to attempt to diversify their energy suppliers with varying degrees of success. For most Europeans, piped Russian natural gas, however politicized, still is preferable to expensive liquefied natural gas projects and dealing with political tumult from the Middle East. The Europeans' desire to decrease their dependence on Russian energy grew more urgent in recent months as tensions escalated between Russia and the West over Ukraine. Moreover, the Europeans have discussed increased trade sanctions on Russia, which could affect energy supplies. So as I've said, Russia many times will use their energy supplies as a political tool in order to get their way in certain situations. And the European Union is beginning to say, listen, we need to diversify our energy supplies and how we get our energy to other areas. And like I said, this is probably where Israel and Russia are going to clash, especially as Israel begins to export their natural gas and oil out. Although Moscow knows that Europe has few options for alternative energy supplies in the short term, Russia couldn't or cannot be assured that its position in Europe's energy landscape will remain the same in the long term. This means that Russia must either find other customers or face eventual financial and economic collapse. And it just so happens that one of the world's largest and growing energy consumers is on Russia's eastern flank. And they're talking about China. So Russia right now is trying to get into the Chinese market, but it unfortunately is extremely expensive in order to do that. And Russia and China are having a hard time coming to an agreeable price point. So whether or not that potential deal in the future will manifest is still unknown. Especially if Israel begins to start shipping their gas out to China as well. That could be a monstrous problem. Right now, China already had the bulk of their energy is coming from the Middle East already as it is. But the main message I want you to get from this article, from this video, is that due to the problem that has arisen with Ukraine, it has led many in the European Union to become weary of getting their gas supplies from Russia, because every time something like this takes place, they start politicizing their energy supplies, meaning they use their energy or the stoppage of energy to European nations as leverage to get them to do what Russia wants them to do. So the European Union is starting to look elsewhere, and they'd love to have they'd love to have Israel pipe their natural gas and oil that they found to the European Union. And I think that's what's going to happen. This threat of Israel sending their supplies to European Union is going to be a monstrous problem for Russia, and may spell bankruptcy that they simply can't handle. So I look for in the future that Israel will be attacked by Russia for two main reasons. One, to take a spoil, that is to take Israel's newfound natural gas and oil supplies that they found, and two, to prevent them from stealing away European Union nations from Russia, a very lucrative market that Russia right now has pretty much a lock on. And I don't think that Israel's done yet. I think when it's all said and done, that Israel is about ready to land down upon a monstrous natural gas and oil deposit, even bigger than the ones that they have already. I mean, I believe that the Lord's about ready to bless them. I don't know if it's going to be on this side of the rapture or on the other side, but at some point in time, I believe that the riches of Israel's newly found oil and gas deposits are going to be so great that Russia will not be able to walk away from attacking them. In fact, the Bible describes it as a hook in Russia's mouth that they can't seem to get away from. So I look for Russia to become a problem with the European Union. I look for the European Union to start looking seriously away from Russia and trying to diversify their natural gas and oil needs. And I look for Israel to be the source that will fill that need. And frankly, if you're looking for something to point to Bible prophecy being fulfilled, this is it. This is just another step toward what eventually will turn out to be one of the biggest attacks against, or I should say the biggest attack against Israel that they've ever encountered. And I believe that attack's going to take place sooner than later. And you know what? If you don't know the Lord, you need to make that decision today. Jesus is coming soon, and when he does, are you going to go with him? Or are you going to be left behind to go through the most horrible time this world's ever known as the Great Tribulation period? And you know, there's a worse fate than that even, and that is that you could die today. And if you died today, where would you spend eternity? You know, 153,000 people die every single day. Every single one of them will die with their sins paid for. But you know what? If you don't accept that sacrifice, you have in essence rejected the free gift of salvation. Don't make that mistake. Like I said, 153,000 people will die today, and the vast majority of them will end up in a burning hell. Accept the Lord today as your Savior. This is Terry Malone with the Calvary Prophecy Report.